Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we're going to be talking about Kyrie Irving going to stay with the Mavericks. It was a surprise to many people, myself kind of included, but when it comes down to it, it just makes the most sense for both sides. If you're Kyrie Irving, you still want the money. A lot of people thought that he was going to be willing to take a severe pay cut and have a meeting with the Suns to potentially take the opportunity to win a championship with a team that's already stacked and very top heavy with very little depth. Now, the issue with that is the Suns decided to get some more depth pieces and just round out their roster. They didn't really have a lot of flexibility after making the Bradley Beal deal, and they feel comfortable in a position where they're at to where they felt like they didn't need Kyrie. If you're the Lakers, similar situation, they just didn't have those pieces, and the Lakers actually got some better pieces for their depth by comparison to the Suns in the first day of the offseason. Now, free agency has been very, very interesting. Kyrie did get his 3-year deal that gives him about an average of $42 million per year. Now, if I'm the Mavericks and I'm Jason Kidd and Mark Cuban, I love this because it was really the only right decision. You let Jalen Brunson walk in the past for really nothing, and you can't let that happen again. You just traded for him. Jason Kidd pushed to get him this season, even though there was those availability concerns and just those wonders of what kind of player is he going to be on their roster, even though we know what he brings on the offensive side of the ball. Kyrie's really only played in 163 of the last 308 regular season games. So it's a thing of, not only will he be on your team, but will he be available to play and give it night in and night out? Now, last season with the Nets, he did average 27, 5, and 5. And then after the trade, he ended up averaging 27, 5, and 6. Good deal. His 3-point percentage went up 2%. His field goal percentage jumped from 48.5% to 51%. So he's still an efficient shooter. He can be a volume shooter if they need him to be. And he offers the opportunity to be a true, maybe not a number one, but a definitely strong 1A, 1B punch between him and Luka Doncic. Now, the challenge for Jason Kidd at this point is going to be building a good defense around both of their offensive bags to allow them to do what they do on the offensive side of the ball, win games for you, and also have the rest of the players that are on the court with them cover a little bit on defense where they're lacking and also push them to the next step overall as a unit. Now, the thing is, the Mavericks could have offered Kyrie a 5-year, $272 million contract because they do have his bird rights, which allows them to offer more than any other team potentially could. They did end up opting to go with a 3-year, $126 million deal, and the last year is a player option at the end of for the 2025-2026 season, which lines his contract up perfectly with Luka Doncic, who obviously is the centerpiece and the cornerstone of that franchise. Now, having a good 1-2 punch between the two of them is perfect. It allows them to smooth out their games a little bit more. And over the course of these next 3 seasons, should that contract be honored all the way through and they don't decide to flip Kyrie for something else later on down the road, it does make sense for both sides. Kyrie gets his money. He's guaranteed a home for the next 3 years. He's going to have the opportunity to have moments for himself, but he's also not going to be expected to be the number one producer for the team because that's Luka's job. Now, that being said, Kyrie still has to be his normal efficient self, which we saw in the small 20-game sample size that he did have last season with that team, that he is capable of doing it, and there's no reason to assume that he has slowed down despite being 31 years old. He's really still an all-star caliber player, really one of the top point guards in the league. There's not many that do anything better than him. He is the most skilled player in the league, and there's no reasons to think otherwise. An important thing to note is that the Mavericks did post a 5-11 record in games that Luka and Kyrie played together at the end of last season. However, they didn't end up going into the playoffs because the Mavericks ownership essentially decided that they wanted to go ahead and tank and just slide their way out of the playoffs because they didn't feel like they had an opportunity to do certain things the way they wanted to. Now, that is interesting. Am I concerned at that sample size of 5-11? No, but they are going to have a strong defensive core surrounding them to allow them to do what they do best, be as efficient as they are and are capable of being, and also win games in games that they should win when you're putting up 30 points and 25 points and 35 points. Those aren't games that you can continually waste performances from both players. With that being said, I'll be back to you tomorrow with more news. I'll be dropping a video regarding the recent free agency signings, which has been crazy and out of this world, something we've really never seen before. We've seen some crazy signings, but we haven't seen this many in a single day to this degree. Now, the new CBA deal is the reason why we have to thank for all this possible content, but it's also interesting to see how the landscape of the NBA is going to change in these coming years due to this. With that being said, good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.